Hello, Facebook family and friends. Suzette Martinez Valladares here. I am going to pull up my Facebook Live on my laptop because for some strange, bizarre reason, I noticed I actually get quite a few questions throughout our Facebook Lives. And for some reason, I don't always see them. Donald, welcome back. Donald, you were here last week. Thank you for joining in and being a faithful follower, conservative, and patriot. I genuinely appreciate that. I actually had to look on my watch last week's Facebook Live because I forgot how many Facebook Live town halls I've done. So this is the 10th Facebook Live town hall that I have done. So welcome. Last week, I hate watching myself on video. So last week I was pretty sick. I didn't realize how puffy I was and how bad my throat was, but I had to watch the video because I couldn't remember if this was my 9th or 10th Facebook Live. It is my 10th, and it's just, 10 weeks of this has just been phenomenal, and it is something that I am looking forward to doing to really be transparent and accessible to my neighbors and our community and all of the constituents in the 25th Congressional District. So my name is Suzette Martinez Valladares. I am a modern Republican woman, not to be confused with moderate, because I believe that there are conservative solutions to our modern day issues. I am running to unseat the liberal, progressive Katie Hill in California's 25th Congressional District. Jeremiah, welcome. Jan, Mark, thank you guys for joining in tonight. For those of you who are not familiar with the 25th Congressional District, the 25th Congressional District is comprised of the Simi Valley area, Porter Ranch in the city of Los Angeles, the city of Santa Clarita, Santa Clarita Valley, Acton, Agua Dulce, Lancaster, Palmdale, Lake Los Angeles, Pear Blossom, so northern LA County. It's a place that I call home. My husband and I and my 2-year-old daughter, Charlotte, live in Acton, and we are patriots, and I'm so blessed and lucky to have such a supportive family to support me through this journey to take back our community and to represent conservative values in Washington. Which brings me up to a question that a recurring theme or question I've been getting along the campaign trail. And as a matter of fact, I just got it from a reporter a couple of days ago, was asking how I can run for Congress, how is it possible for me to be a congresswoman while having a small child? And this is the first time I've gotten the question from a reporter, and I never feel like I have to defend or explain how this is possible. This is not the 1950s. Quite a few people, mothers I know, happen to work full time and have children. The reality of dual incomes is something that families in the 25th Congressional District face every day. And for lots of working mothers in California's 25th Congressional District and the Antelope Valley, I understand their daily lives. I live it on a daily life, whether it's commuting to Los Angeles, getting your child ready every morning. These are things that we as moms, we just do, and we work as well. I have to say, what excites me most about being a mother and representing our community in Congress are a few things. The first, I feel like having a toddler has really prepared me to deal with the petulant children in Washington. I can handle temper tantrums and irrational behavior very well, with empathy, with clarity, and with a plan to get our work back on track. So if anything, we absolutely need more mothers in Washington. There are not enough mothers in Washington, and there are plenty of women in the workforce and in everyday lives that choose to both work and or stay home, and the needs and issues that go through our minds don't change because we're working as a full-time mother or we're working as a full-time executive. The other thing that really excites me about going to Washington as a working mother is my own experience on some of these issues that working mothers deal with. Whether it's, I after I had Charlotte, I did suffer from postpartum depression for almost a year. And it really, that experience, my mother really helped me get through. But what I actually realized is I obviously heard of postpartum depression. When you go back in for your checkups with your after you've given birth, and you go back to your OBGYN and they give you a little questionnaire to see if you're feeling postpartum depression. Some of us, mothers may feel guilty about answering those questions honestly. Some of them ask. I was one of the mothers that asked. And while my OBGYN was amazing, he was not a specialist in postpartum depression. So what I came to find out during that process was really, especially for mothers living in rural areas like the Antelope Valley, Acton, Agua Dulce area, that there are actually not very many experts, whether they're marriage and family counselors, psychologists, or psychiatrists, that specialize in postpartum depression, anxiety, which were all some of the things that I was going through. I had to search high and low for someone who specialized it, as well as my insurance actually didn't cover most of the people who were experts. I happened to want to have, I wanted a doctor that was a woman as well, that, understood what I was going through. And it was a really difficult time in my life. So I know a lot of other mothers in our district, working mothers, thinking about going back to work, going through the whole process of maternity leave. Very fortunate in California that we have paid maternity and paternity leave. But that's a whole process. And after you've just given birth, and for those of you who are parents, the first 12 weeks, maybe even 3 months, you're just like a zombie because you had absolutely no sleep, yet you're still dealing with disability and paperwork and doctor checkups and employee checkups. So as a mother who went through postpartum depression, as a mother who understands the need for maternity leave, paid maternity leave, and paternity leave, these are issues that I've experienced firsthand. And actually, I'm super proud of Senator Marco Rubio and Joni Ernst and other conservative Republicans that are taking up this issue. And I would be just so honored, excited, as well as passionate about taking up this issue in Washington as well, and representing the mothers and all constituents really in the 25th Congressional District. But this just happens to be something that's personal and that I can relate to. So long intro there, guys. But I do already see, I'm trying to scroll through some questions because last week after I ended our Facebook Live, there were so many questions. Chris, welcome. Fernie Chavez, California needs to go red. Yes, we need to save California by electing conservative Republicans. Chris, you're absolutely right. Hill is a leftist. She, sold the constituents of the 25th Congressional District a bad bill of goods. She came off as a moderate, a practical, pragmatic, and she is anything but. Anybody who votes left of Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer is definitely not a moderate and clearly does not represent the values of the 25th Congressional District. Guy, welcome. I do watch all of your wonderful little cartoon graphics, or not cartoon graphics, AK Katie graphics. I crack up. So does my husband. He enjoys them too. Good example for a child. Bring her along when you can and she'll learn lots of good stuff. You know what's really, I I do bring my daughter along as much as possible. And for those of you who have met her, you know that I call her my little executive because she is not shy. If I'm talking, she wants to talk. She likes to be the center of attention. She's extremely talkative. She just turned 2 in April, but she has a huge vocabulary. She's my little sassy executive. Love her 100%. Jeremiah, when we take back the House in 2020, who would you vote to be the Speaker of the House? Wow, that's a good question. I don't know yet. I think that we do have some really great leaders in Washington, but I will think about that one a little bit more, because my objective would really be to find a strong leader and speaker that represents our community's values, and that is a good negotiator and is really willing to get great legislation through for the American people. So those would be some of my priorities. So I did have some questions this week actually one more thing I wanted to bring up. I had some questions throughout the week that I wanted to kind of just throw out here as I'm waiting for more questions to come in. But I want to congratulate the autism community for their advocacy and the passage of the Autism Cares Act today in the House of Representatives. Now, this act is very important to the autism community. It funds or allocates about $3.1 billion to Health and Human Services, to the CDC, and for the Health Services and Resource Committee. And this is all very imperative to offer funding for research, training, as well as monitoring for the 1 in 59 individuals on the autism spectrum in the United States. I am a huge advocate for the special needs community, and this is funding that is really needed for the autism community. And call your representative, guys, and tell your friends and neighbors to support this. It's going to the Senate. It'll most likely be passed, but I just want to congratulate the autism community for advocating for really individuals in our community that need our assistance and our support. Let's see. Donald, what is a first issue you would like to take on? So it's a toss-up because there are actually 2 issues that are my core issues. The first being immigration reform, as well as permanently funding a safe, secure, and modern border. Immigration reform is really tied to everything. It's tied to our health system, it's tied to our economy, it's tied to taxes or the lack thereof of true accountability when it comes to taxes, because there are so many undocumented immigrants that are either paying taxes in one form or another, or not paying taxes in one form or another, and we don't have an accurate accounts and records of where those taxes are going, whether or not they're coming back to states like, for instance, California. So immigration right now is really affecting a bunch of other issues that our nation is facing, and you can't address immigration reform without addressing permanently funding our southern border. So the things that I think need to be funded at the southern border, and for those of you who weren't able to watch it, a couple of weeks ago I was able to visit the California southern border, because we live in California and it is the border that I think I am a bit, it's home, and it is costing us money here in California, along with a whole lot of other costs incurred because of that. But the things that when I was given the opportunity to visit there, it was just so different to see a lot of the things that I was concerned about firsthand. And check out my Facebook Live video. I did a really short video. But what I would like to see funded is infrastructure. So that includes barriers, walls, roads, all needed. There's actually different needs at the border, but we need to fund infrastructure. We need to fund technology. What could be aerial technology, ground technology, drones, all those type of flashlights. Some very basic things. It's pretty sad when our Border Patrol agents are not giving the adequate resources to do their job, including some very basic, simple things like having working flashlights. And then lastly, funding boots on the ground. The minimum staffing requirement for the United States Border Patrol is 21,000 agents. And right now they're staffed at 19,000. So, and they need an increase in that staffing too, especially when having to deal with the humanitarian crisis, which is taking them away from the job that they're really supposed to be doing and that they're really qualified to be doing. So that's a key area I'd like to focus on, as well as healthcare. Healthcare is a huge, multifaceted issue. It's something that I think we need to bring together the greatest minds to help lower the cost of healthcare, to help increase the access and increase the quality. And we do that through competition, and we do that through a variety of other incentives and or legislation, for instance, around the cost of pharmaceuticals and prescription drugs. We should allow things like allowing individuals and or pharmacies to purchase prescriptions from other countries, obviously ensuring and making sure that they meet our standards, that they're safe. But really, we have to find a way to bring down the cost of prescription drugs. And one thing that I guess I'm technically a millennial, but let me just tell you, I know that as you get older, I was an athlete, I played basketball, my back is constantly going out. As you get older, I know the cost of prescription healthcare just costs more and more and more. And even, when my mom had diabetes, before she was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, she had a slew of medications she was taking that were very costly. So I completely understand the struggles. And actually, I was having a conversation with somebody who is a supporter who has been on disability for quite some time, who literally has to look at her budget every month and cut very basic things out of her budget, very basic things like food, because she has to budget to make sure that she can afford her prescriptions every month and or sometimes every 3 months. So it's a struggle that everyday Americans are dealing with, and it's definitely something that we need to address, and we need to put partisan politics aside to do this. And what we need to do is get enough conservatives elected so that we don't have the Medicare for all, universal health care, single payer tax care system that the liberal left wants to see our country adopt. I don't agree with those things, and they're off the table for me. Great question. So those are the two issues that I'm most passionate about, but there are a lot of other issues that I both have experience firsthand advocating for, the special needs community, the early learning community. I'm a small business owner. These are all things that are very near and dear to me, and obviously the aerospace and defense industry. I'm really working to bring back some serious jobs and dollars to our valley. And really, I would like to serve on the House Armed Services Committee, because it's imperative that we have strong leadership that's going to negotiate the best deal for our community, given that aerospace and defense industry are really the lifeline of our community. And really what, the other thing in terms of bringing money into for the aerospace defense industry, one of our biggest issues here in the 25th Congressional District is traffic and congestion. It's infrastructure and transportation. So 100,000 families leave the Antelope Valley every day to head down to the Valley or to Los Angeles for work. 100,000 families. That's parents, for those of you who have commuted on the 14 or the 5, you can spend an additional hour and a half in traffic on top of your normal commute in the morning trying to get to work. This is time that we are taking away from our family. This is wear and tear on our freeways. This is driving literally people insane via the road rage. You know, it's so sad. I try and usually head back up the 14 every day before 4 p.m. Because traffic is insane. I try not to leave before 8 o'clock. That doesn't mean I'm not on the phone or doing something before or after those hours. But what's even more tragic is sad is just the amount of car accidents that I see and injuries. And it seems like every other day I'm getting an alert from K-Hits or from the Signal talking about a horrible accident. And the traffic, the congestion, the accidents are also another cause for wildfires here in our valley. So if we can bring more good paying jobs for the aerospace and defense industry to the Antelope Valley, to the Santa Clarita Valley, and the Simi Valley, that will allow more families to stay in those valleys, in our home cities, commute less, and relieve some of the traffic and congestion. So there are a slew of issues that I know are very important to our community. Those are just some of the issues that I'm most passionate about here. That's a great question. There are a lot of, oh wait, pause, bleep. This is Facebook Live, but I'm glad that you said, oh, mothers in Washington. Sorry, I had to say it. Good one, Guy. Mark, your question is, do you have a strategy in defeating your Republican rivals to get into the top two? How will you defeat in the fundraising part of the campaign? So a few things about that. Of course, I have a strategy. But first of all, I'm the only candidate that has spent the last decade, advocating for issues important to our community, like early learning, early intervention. I've served on the Latino Chamber of Commerce board. I've been an advocate for the autism community and and special needs community. I've spent time here on the ground across the 25th Congressional District, and I have established relationships with the grassroots. And really, a lot of the people that are not the typical, they're not involved in politics. So I have a huge grassroots support system right now that are not the typical politicos. I'm the only person that's also helped elect. I have the most campaign experience in that I've helped elect Republicans across the state and across really United States. So I understand what a robust, what a strong, what a lean but aggressive campaign needs to do and needs to look like. So for my poor consultants out there, I'm definitely much more in tune with the community and aggressive campaigns. So I'm constantly asking that we do things a little bit differently. Clearly, social media is a huge part of, just being in touch with millennials, being in touch with working families. And actually on Facebook specifically, we actually have the older generation who watch Facebook. So I know when I talk to my nieces who are 16, sorry about that, they're like, a sissy, they call me sissy. They're like, Facebook is for old people. Who has a Facebook? So I do have Snapchat and Instagram and other social media platforms that our campaign is doing very well in. I tend to be a little sassier on my Twitter social media platform. So if you guys aren't following me on Twitter, please do so. You see a lot more of my sassiness. Again, it's another thing where I'm thankful that I just get to be myself. And I love Twitter. The fundraising. So yes, we have to raise money. Just this week, I've actually done pretty well. So I'm super excited. I am super excited about this week. The thing is, we're not going to raise more money than Katie Hill, but we're going to run a smarter campaign, and the strategy doesn't change for ending up in the top two. I'm going to run a smarter campaign, more robust, more lean, and it's not to say that I don't need money and it's not a huge or top priority Of course it is. The other thing is that I'm a fighter, and in my life, my father taught me to work hard. It's one of the reasons that I'm running, because I know that hard work, and my dad taught me, always pays off. Nothing has ever been given to me. Things in my life, and I'm not whining here, have not always been easy, but I've never let that stop me from achieving my goals and accomplishing what I set out to. So by my sheer determination alone, I have an advantage. And this is something that I'm doing because I care about my daughter's future. I care about my family, my nieces, my nephews' futures. I care about my neighbors' futures. I care about your children and your grandchildren's futures. And I am the best candidate to beat Katie Hill come 2020. Word on the Hill is that Katie is most afraid of me because I'm not the typical Republican. I might be a unicorn in the party, but there are actually a lot more Latina, mother, women, conservatives out there than people know, and I'm finding them. Actually, I'm finding them. So Katie Hill's most afraid of beating me because she knows I know this community. She knows I'm feisty. She knows I run a good campaign, and really, anything that she would throw at any of these candidates, I won't put up with. And, it kind of brings me to when I first started talking to community stakeholders about running. I guess sometimes I come off really nice to people. And I was asked, are you willing to fight? And it was kind of a strange question to me because I'm like, why would you run for a congressional seat, yet alone one of the most competitive congressional seats in the nation, if you weren't willing to fight? And this includes, addressing issues that are tough issues, such as asking my opponents about their voting histories. It's something that was a tough decision. Well, actually, it wasn't a tough decision because I believe that every activist, every voter in our community needs to know where people are on the issues, where people have been on the issues, who they've supported over the past decade. And when you haven't showed up, or you've only showed up for one of the past 6 elections, I have a problem for that. Maybe you have a good excuse, but the question needs to be asked. And I think that some people weren't expecting that I would ask tough questions like that. And I kind of proved them wrong. Check out, there was a daily news article on the candidate forum, which was a really great forum this past weekend. I think that all of the candidates did a really good job of expressing our positions, but there were clearly people who came out as more well-versed on the community, and better equipped to take on Katie Hill in the general election, and that person was clearly me. Thanks for the question, Mark. So Jeremiah, nice. You are Katie Hill page? What's that? Oh, you're replying to Guy there. Jim Jordan, welcome. Who else? What do we see here? Did you see Jim Jordan today? He made Mueller look like a fool. I was actually on the phones for the majority of the day raising money. But I was able to take a quick peek at my Twitter account and here and there and see some of the testimony. And, it actually, nothing surprised me. I think, Democrats have been beating a dead horse for quite some time now. I hear that there was some crazy Ted Lieu viral tweet that during the second half of the hearing, Mueller came out and corrected and essentially obliterated the whole, fiasco. I thought it was really interesting that I guess yesterday, House Democrats were doing a mock committee hearing, and it really reminded me, one, of high school and like my mock Model United Nation days. Interesting that they have to practice for this. But two, if they're actually sitting there and practicing, to tear apart Mueller and his report that we've spent I don't know how many millions of dollars on, is how it just shows how partisan that they are. They're actually not doing this to address or focus on the needs of the American people, but they're doing this as a political ploy to try and find gotcha moments. And it really is sad and pathetic. And honestly, I would rather see healthcare reform, immigration reform, border security. I'd like to ensure that our children are getting quality education, that we're working on cutting our national debt, that we're getting serious about cutting the national debt, which is at $22 trillion. Clearly, the left is not serious about any of the issues facing everyday Americans right now, and it's sad. So, but I will have to take a look at that. Paul, welcome. It's good to see you. So Donald, immigration reform is very general term. Can you list specific items? I agree. It's the root of a lot of our issues. Right. So, in terms of immigration reform, I think that we need a guest worker program. The guest worker program is going to also have to be one of the ways that we deal with the current undocumented immigrants living in our country. I think we need to look at our asylum laws. We need to look at all the, I don't even know how many different visas and all the crazy and obscure allocations that we do on an annual basis around those. We need an immigration and visa reform that makes sense for the industry in the United States, that makes sense for the agriculture industry in California, our high-skilled industry, such as Silicon Valley, or if we're going to solve healthcare reform, we're going to have to really start to bring in some more of the highly skilled professionals, hello love bug, from the medical field, doctors, nurses, because our current workforce will not meet our needs. Can you say hi to everyone, Charlotte?
Hi.
You are so silly. Did you pick some flowers?
Yeah.
Right. So I'm trying not to spend this entire forum or town hall on immigration, but those are some of the more specifics that I think we need to deal with in terms of immigration reform.
Yeah.
I know, baby, but it's already 8:30, so we're going to take probably 2 more questions, okay? And then mommy will come and sit down with you, and then we'll take a bath, okay? Okay, let's go. I'm gonna send you with Daddy, and we'll go take a bath in just a little bit. Okay? Can you go tell Daddy to get your bath ready? Go tell him. Say, get my bath ready. Go tell Daddy, get my bath ready. Sorry guys, but this is what a working mom does, right? She does Facebook Live town halls while getting her child ready for bath time. So I'll take.
I thought you were done.
Oh no, you're fine. Thank you, babe. So yes, thank you, Michelle, for logging on and reminding me, guys, that there are lots of issues that are important to our community and to our district. But I can't do this without your help. So if you guys want to help me beat Katie Hill, I really need you to go to my website and make a donation. $10, $20. If you just recently won the lottery, you can do a double max out of $5,600. Would gladly take that too, but I need your support. I also, sign up to volunteer. We have to take our district back as a community, and we can't do that without boots on the ground, people knocking on doors, making phone calls to take back our community. Okay. Brian, welcome, Brian. Oh, Donald, I appreciate your accessibility. Good job. There are over 700,000 constituents living in the 21st Congressional District, and it's probably, upwards of 750,000. And if I could talk to every single one of them every day, I really genuinely would love to hear about the issues that are important to them. This is one of those ways that I can do that. A lot of people have access to Facebook. I need your support. I need your questions. I need your ideas. So of course, my objective is to always be accessible, because I want to be a citizen legislature. And whether it's my own personal experience and the things that I've done in my life and bringing a fresh perspective to Washington, and or simply talking to people as much as possible and hearing about their issues and about the solutions. I don't have all the solutions in the world. I will never claim to do it. Everything great has come from a team effort. So I need your guys' support. Thank you so much, Donald. I'll take one more question here. Let's go down a little bit, because last week there were so many. Hi, little one. You're who we all work for. Aw, thank you so much. I appreciate that. I know that you have children and grandchildren and nieces and nephews, and our objective, and I think every parent and grandparent and uncle and aunt's objective, is to leave this world better off for the next generation, which is exactly one of the core reasons that drives me to do this. So the last thing that I actually think I touched on everything. I had some questions out here earlier, but I think I answered them all. Wait a minute, who's that? So guys, I just want to say thank you so much. I'm gonna go give my little one a bath and then get to making lunch for tomorrow morning for the little one, and my whole routine over again. But I just want to thank you for joining me at my 10th Facebook Live. Throughout the week, please check into my Facebook, my Instagram, my Twitter account. Any ideas that you have, DM me, reach out to me with your questions. Would love your support as we all gather together to take back our community, so that we elect a representative who understands our community's values and votes that way in Washington. Thank you so much, Suzette Martinez Valladares.